Hi, this is Kevin with the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. We have a great show in store for you today, so be sure to hit like and subscribe to keep up on all the latest from Fantasy Football's podcast.
So, guys, we have the New York Giants on the docket to break down tonight. There is some pretty big fantasy relevance here when you think about some of the players that are on the New York Football Giants. You've got Saquon Barkley, you've got Sterling Shepard, you have Golden Tate, the newcomer Darius Slayton, the rookie putting up a good rookie campaign, Evan Engram, and the emergence of Daniel Jones. The Giants replacing a head coach and bringing Joe Judge over. They've replaced an offensive coordinator. Old Jason Garrett is now in the OC chair. And, guys, they ran a 63% pass and a 37% run ratio last year. Evan Engram, he finished tight end 18 on the year. He's ranked next year for tight end 4, overall 54. He had 44 catches, 467 yards, 3 TDs, an 11% target share in a injury-shortened year. What are you guys' thoughts here?
I think Evan Engram is quickly approaching the Sterling Shepard category. Evan Engram is a great talent. He is a good tight end. He cannot stay healthy. And through his short NFL career here at the moment, he's yet to play a full season. He's missed multiple games each season. But while on the field, he has produced. Before Evan Engram got knocked out against Minnesota. So through 5 weeks, and it's not the greatest sample size, but you're a quarter of the way through the season, just over a quarter of the way. He was tight end 2 before the injury bug started getting him, and then he missed the New England game. He came back. He had a pitiful 1 catch for 6 yards against the Arizona Cardinals, who were the worst team in the league against tight ends. Again, first game back from injury, he kind of limped through that a little bit and didn't see his normal volume, but he played through 2 more games after that, and then was shut down the rest of the year. But Evan Engram should be there in that 6th, 7th round. I'm thinking just because tight ends typically go a bit later. If he's healthy, he absolutely lives up to the 4th tight end spot. But I don't know that he can stay healthy, and because of that, I don't think he finishes as a top 5 tight end, and I think he's barely on the cusp of a tight end, the top 10, and that's simply because I can't trust that he's going to stay on the field.
I will say this again with Jason Garrett coming in there to be the OC. He knows how to handle receiving tight ends. I mean, he did it with Jason Witten. He turned Jason Witten into a pretty serviceable tight end in the NFL. I don't know. I think that the tight end spot will get featured a little bit more with Jason Garrett. I think that plays into the fact that you need a guy. You're going to need a tight end on the field a lot when you're going to feature running the football with Saquon. I think that's part of the design. So I think again that a tight end in a Jason Garrett offense has value, but to Kevin's point, what good is he if he can't stay healthy? And he doesn't provide any value when he's on the IR. So I don't know that he's a top 15 positionally tight end. If he's healthy, absolutely, but he hasn't proven that.
What round you got him going in?
There's going to be a lot of Giants taken in like the 8th round. It's just be Giants after Giants in the 8th round. I'll go 8th round.
Okay. I think that you'll see some folks spend up for him, especially if they dive deeper into some of the statistics, because if he's healthy, he is phenomenal. And I think this is the year that he finally pulls it together and is a healthy dude all season. So I'm going to say that he is a top 5 pick. I don't think he's gonna fall past the 5th round in this coming draft. And when you look at it, he commands a ton of the target share. Uh, just looking through a few of these games, 29% target share, 22, 23, 29, 20. That's the majority of the games that he was in, and he commanded a ton of the volume out there in New York.
Once again, young quarterback, look for tight ends, look for slot receivers, and they're great security blankets. I think that's what you were seeing there out of Evan Engram as being the security blanket for a young Daniel Jones. So
he's a
value.
great mismatch. He's
right.
quick, right?
Yeah.
He's a big-bodied tight end, but he does have some wheels on him. So he does create matchup problems. He's too fast for linebackers. He's too big for safeties. Obviously, he's not in the Travis Kelce, George Kittle, league, but he does, when healthy, he does create a lot of mismatches, which I think, is shown by his target share. For his sake, I hope he is healthy. He's fun to watch, guys.
Yeah.
Like, as just a fan of football, he's fun to watch. And if he is healthy, Derek, I think you're spot on. Like I said earlier, I just can't trust that he's going to be healthy yet. So I think more times than not, I'm probably going to fade away from Evan Engram and look for a different option that I can trust a little bit more on the consistency side.
Yeah, I would agree with you. He is definitely a high risk, high reward type of player, and depending upon how you construct your team, that could be one of those that's the kind of guy that puts you over the top. But it all depends on what you're looking like sitting there. And I think you'll see somebody take him, and I don't see him getting past that 5th round. But Daniel Jones finished QB 24 on the year, had a 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 62% completion rating, and threw for 3,027 yards. Was the second leading rusher on the Giants team last year. Who knew? At 279 yards, he did take 38 sacks as well. So, guys, looking at the old Daniel Jones, he is QB 12 for next year. Overall, 111. What are you guys' thoughts on Daniel Jones? Is he a top 12 QB? And what round do you have him going in?
I have Daniel Jones as a top 15 QB, so I'm going to say no. He's going to fall just outside the top 12. I do think he makes a good second-year jump. I think he will sit down, watch a lot of film, get with Jason Garrett, kind of figure out what worked and what didn't for him. Cut some of those turnovers down. The sacks number scares me a little bit because unless the Giants just draft the hell out of offensive linemen, that's still going to be a problem. They're still giving up a ton of pressure. But I do think he matures a little bit, and you see that growth there. Where would I draft Daniel Jones? The funny thing is, we're going back to this, and you're right, Alex. it goes back to this
7th, 8th round, man.
7th, 8th round. Like, if I'm waiting on a quarterback, and this is kind of where I'm going back to it. If I'm waiting on a quarterback, and I'm missing that first wave, here are guys that I expect to be in this kind of ballpark. You have. Man, going through this. Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't see it there. I don't see him there. I think you're there. Your Kirk Cousins range. Your Philip Rivers in some leagues. Most leagues, Philip Rivers will probably fall a little bit. He doesn't get a ton of respect. Matt Ryan had a down year, so Matt Ryan's stock will drop. I'm gonna say Cam Newton will be in that top 12 type range for quarterbacks again, unless he's not the starter. I don't know that I'd take Daniel Jones. I think I'd rather have a Kirk Cousins. I think I would rather have a healthy Matt Stafford. I think I would rather have Heck, and not Joe Burrow, but I'd rather take Kyler Murray. I think I'd rather have Kyler Murray. I'd rather have Carson Wentz. And some of those guys are obviously in the top 10. You're not talking that 12 to 15 range, but surely some will fall depending on the draft. And I think I would take all those guys over Daniel Jones based off of what I've seen thus far.
So what round did you have him in?
7th, 8th.
I don't see him. Golly, he is clearly in the second tier of quarterbacks, right? Like there's that top tier: Lamar, Wilson, Wentz, Breeze, Rodgers.
Is Wentz truly in that top tier?
Statistically, yeah. Statistically, he is. Dude threw for 4,000 yards and had 27 touchdowns. He's 5th in the league in touchdowns this year.
Okay.
So statistically, I think Wentz is in that top tier, just from a stats standpoint. And that's what we're talking about here. But I think Daniel Jones is in that Kirk Cousins, Phillip Rivers, Jared Goff, even Baker's kind of in that second tier of quarterback, I think. And to me, in a league where you got one quarterback, and if you're in a 12-team league, there are 12 quarterbacks, I think, that are better than Daniel Jones, that are worth drafting. I would say that he would be in the top 15. I like that. I think top 15 or right around 15 in terms of where he finishes the year. But I wouldn't spend a draft pick on him. I mean, late round, third to last round, second to last round. I think that's where you take your flyer on Daniel Jones, because quarterbacks, I mean, you can only, in a lot of leagues, you can only start one. And I think he's in that second tier, but he's not worthwhile yet.
So I think that Daniel Jones, no, I don't think he gets top 12. And actually, here's an interesting question for the group. You had a bunch of rookie QBs come out, and some of them made a splash this past year. Who would you rather have on your fantasy team starting for you at QB? Would you rather have Daniel Jones, or would you rather have Drew Lock?
Yeah, oh boy. I think
That's
I would
a good one.
I think I would take Jones over Locke just because I think Jones has a few more weapons around him that will get you a little bit more fantasy points wise. I just, with the threat of Saquon out of the backfield as a receiving threat, no less, I think that you're going to get a little bit more out of that. So I would go with Daniel Jones, but hilariously enough, we'll get to see which coach is better, because the guy who was coaching Daniel Jones is going to coach Drew Lock this year. So we'll see kind of what Pat Shurmur is all about, if he can make a quarterback worthwhile.
Pat Shurmur is the reason why I'm going to say I would rather take the flyer on Drew Lock.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys, that'll do it for the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. If you haven't done so, be sure to click the like and subscribe button. For Kevin and Alex, I'm Derek.